Here we are, episode 83 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, where we are talking about growing, scaling, building your junk removal dream and adjunct industries, landscapers, restoration companies, cleaning companies. They all come, they all love us. They're all here to learn about business. As always, I'm Andy Weins. He's Casey Bubba Lawrence, joining us from the great state of Texas, the old Six Flags himself. Casey, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, pick your choice. Let's see. We got Dallas Cowboys, Texas Rangers, the Dallas Stars, or the Dallas Mavericks, who all have
How
played.
about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys?
Man.
Let me tell you something. I was watching a football game yesterday that wasn't great, and then I saw the highlights from your game, and I said to myself, at least I got someone to talk football tomorrow, because I got nothing.
Well, you know what? Let's just
absolutely
hope they
nothing to
play
talk
like
about.
that against the Eagles this coming up Sunday. So,
Yeah, I mean it's simple. What do you guys play, the Rams? It wasn't a schmuck, right? Was it the Rams? Who'd you guys beat up on? Yeah,
it was the
wasn't
Rams.
a terrible team. I mean, wasn't bottom of the barrel. Texas Rangers. Was it 2-1? What's the score of the Texas
We're
Rangers?
tied up right now. 1-1.
1-1. Oh,
tonight
is game 3 tonight?
Is game 3.
Oh, it was game 3 last night.
No, it's game 3 tonight in Phoenix, playing the desert. So it's gonna be fun.
All right.
But I will say that I got to play my first round of golf ever today. I never played golf.
You look kind of like a D-bag today. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
you got the sweater vest, the matching hat,
quarter zip,
whatever, quarter zip. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. You got the quarter zip for those guys, listening only. He's got the quarter zip with the pull underneath, the blue hat, and the shades on top. You look like a guy. You put a T behind your ear, and you're like every other douchebag golfer I've ever met.
What's funny is I normally dress like this, and I've never been golfing, so I kind of fit in. When I got there, I was like, nothing normal, nothing different. I just dressed normal.
Did you have to rent clubs, or did you bring your own clubs? Or
I had a buddy of mine, a Marine guy. He's a badass, Randy Watkins. I know he doesn't listen to this, but shout out to him. He's a mortgage broker. He actually had an extra set of clubs he gave me to borrow until I get to the point I get my own club. So awesome.
And how'd you do?
It was a good thing. I mean, we did a scramble, right? It was a team of 4.
Yeah.
We came in, I think, 1 under, so not bad.
How many of your shots did they take?
I don't know. Not many. Probably like
more than one, right? If they took more than one, all of a sudden Taylor. No, I got nothing. Now I got no audio. See, he's on his phone too much. His earbuds die. Now I gotta kill the dead air here. See, for the people that complain, nope, nothing. Casey, you're still muted. For the people that complain that I talk too much, maybe it's because Casey's technology sucks sometimes. Say it again.
Maybe 6.
There you go. Maybe 6. Maybe 6 shots they took. Well, here's the deal. As long as they took at least one, you were a contributing member of the team. That's it. They took at least one.
Yeah. It was fun, though,
All right. Charity outlet, or what was it all about?
Yeah, so my charity was invited. The charity I'm with, Gallant Few, we're a veteran organization. We specialize in mental health for veterans, man. But it was supporting another charity called Recovery Resource Committee. They help with, alcoholism, drug addiction, as well as recovery with veterans. But the cool thing, and this is kind of why I brought it up, is over the past, I want to say, 7, 8 years, I have been invited to numerous golf tournament outings, right?
Yep.
And I've always said no because I've never played. And I've always been like, well, I don't know how to play. I don't want to hold you up, blah, 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 blah. In the past month, I was invited 3 times and I said no. The 4th time was last week. And my response was literally, it was a group text. I said, fuck it. Sure. Because I got to the point and I was like, I want to do something new, to get in front of a new audience. If I want to do the best I can at my new venture, right? Because I know the business is there, the discussions are there, the connections are there, but I'm not putting myself in that position to succeed because, oh, I don't know how to play, even though you can just learn how to fucking play.
Yep.
So I
And
sucked
what
it
it
up and did
Yeah,
it.
it's a choice, right? And this is we talked about this last week on the podcast, or maybe 2 weeks ago, about how often people take the leap of faith, get into
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, and then they're like, oh, I have something to lose. Like in your case, hey, I suck at golf and I can lose my reputation, so I'm going to stop doing it. And it's like, well, that's foolish. Why stop
Yeah.
now? Right? When you got something to lose, it also means you got a lot more to gain because you got a lot more invested, you got a lot more at stake, right?
Hmm.
Those that are unwilling to fail are unwilling to succeed in the same token. And
Yeah.
to your point, right? You get in. The nice thing about a golf foursome is not only do you get in with potentially new or different people, you spend significant time with people. 3 or 4 hours is a hell of a
Hmm.
lot different than 3 or 4 minutes at a networking event. You might find out after 3 or 4 hours, this is someone I want nothing to do with. They're a terrible human being. Or, hey, this is someone that's really awesome. I would have never known that about them because you end up talking about your significant others, your kids, your hobbies, where you grew up, all that shit that typically doesn't come up. And then you
Right.
also, the other advantage, you have shared experience for
Hmm.
forever. You can always go back to, oh yeah, remember that time we played that round of golf, and
Yeah.
remember the stories that we told, or remember that shot that you made. Right now, there's something binding you other than, hey, we live in the same geographic area and go to the same networking breakfast. Right?
Hmm.
There's not much depth there in that relationship. So I highly encourage people. Golf is like the go-to. I'm going to a pheasant hunt on Wednesday.
Mm. Yeah.
So I was invited last week, and I'm like, oh, okay, pheasant hunt. I got the invite, and 2 weeks ago maybe I got invited, and I came up with a bunch of reasons why I shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't should on yourself or shouldn't on other people. And I was justifying not doing it. I was like, no, you know what? It's with Serve Pro here in Milwaukee. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. And then today, the guy called me because I'd asked a question. I said, hey, do I got to bring my own gun? Do I got to bring my own shells? Like, what am I doing? You know? And
Hmm.
so he called me. We talked. He's like, "Have you hunted before?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I hunt all the time. I typically don't bird hunt, so I don't own a bird gun." And I go grab one. He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it." And I said, "All right, is this like a big networking event?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "It's me, the owner of Serpro Milwaukee, and you." I was like, "Oh shit, there's three of us, right?" So three of us going bird hunting for 4 hours, like that is a awesome opportunity for me to get some quality FaceTime with another business owner. And the whole time I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, we have done a lot of episodes recently, and I stand by it, of why not to franchise. A couple people reached out to me after our last episode saying, hey, do you hate franchises? And I want to make this very clear. I don't hate franchises. There's some amazing franchises out there. I do not recommend going junk removal franchise because there's nothing proprietary. And I've covered all that. However, I have made the point to say, like, yeah, your Serve Pros, Service Master, Paul Davis's of the world, the restoration companies, there's so much proprietary knowledge and equipment and
Hmm.
access to insurance companies that they have that's a reason to consider franchising in those industries. And
Yeah.
so this is an opportunity for me to sit down and talk to someone who's a successful franchisee and learn more right from the horse's mouth about what makes a successful franchise. And then I can bring that information back here to this, consolidation of people that listen to the Trash Talk Business podcast and share
Mhm.
another perspective. It's a perspective I may or may not agree with, and yet I will accept it as fact and I'll be able to share it with the people here. So um,
Well,
I'm
and
looking forward to it because again, I had a lot of
that's
reasons
a good
not to do
thing.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's so for me, the team I was on, and this is just the group, right? If I didn't know any of them, this is the cool thing about it. You have Randy, who's a mortgage lender. He's been doing it for 15, 20 years, right? He's a senior mortgage lender guy, Marine vet, all around
Mhm.
awesome guy. Super knowledgeable, and he does very well for himself because of how he does business. Then you have Zach, who's a Marine vet as well. He's in school to become a counselor, right? And then you have Jennifer, who we're with. He is a marketing director for a construction company. So if you look at the diversity there, just in the
Yep,
industries, the cool thing is you get exposed to just a little bit different of your everyday, I call it your everyday used to,
yep,
because what you're used to every day, it's comfortable. But when you're comfortable, you tend to not work as hard to gain knowledge or to meet new people.
yep.
Um, and I mean, it was just one of those things where it was really cool. Now, I will say, I immediately thought, from now on, I'm not going to say no to invitations unless I schedule wise, I just can't do it. But I'm going
Yep.
to make sure that I entertain future opportunities to be a part of a golf tournament, or like you're doing a pheasant hunt, right? I've been invited to those too, right? And it's easy to find the no's. It's so easy. Oh, I can't do it. Why not? Just can't. The cool thing is, normally if you tell someone you can't do that, they're not going to ask you why not. So you get off
Yep.
pretty easy.
Yep.
But wait, if you're about to say no to someone, pretend they're about to ask you why not, and then come up with a really good answer. And it's hard to do that sometimes. So when you're like, why not? It's got some stuff to do. Well, now you know you're lying to yourself, right? So I invite everyone, now that you're going into the slow season, it's a great opportunity to entertain new things, right? Go golfing if you haven't been golfing. Um, go to a mixer. Go to a mixer if you haven't been to a mixer, right? It's not just networking; it's a little bit different. But one thing I am definitely going to do going into this later part of the season is entertain more invitations,
Mm-hmm.
because I also want them to come to me more. Hey, I met Casey the other day at this golfing tournament. He's a good dude. He's doing some cool shit. We have an opportunity coming up. Let's invite him along. It just opens the doors up, right? And that's what it's all about. There's something I heard last week. Um, Shit, maybe it was you. I don't think it was. I don't know. But it was a video, and they were talking about opportunities and how it's easy to say that other people have opportunities that you don't. But what happens is, if I say, Andy, what do you really want to accomplish by the end of the year? And you tell me, oh, I want to, I don't know, just give me something off the top of your head, Andy. What do you want to accomplish by the end of the year?
Get a paid speaking gig for Your Words
Okay.
Matter.
So a paid speaking gig for, say it again,
Your Words
your words
Matter.
matter. Okay,
Yep. In
your
front
words
of the
matter.
keynote. Yep.
All right, here's the thing. Here's the good and the ugly, right? Or the good and the bad. The good thing is you're going to focus on that, and you're going to say, hey, by the end of the year, I'm going to get a paid speaking gig. The bad, you're going to be tunnel vision almost the entire time, because now you're like, this is what I want, and I'm going to go get it. But
Yep.
what are you missing? Opportunities, right? Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the natural thing is opportunities, they're everywhere. But when you are solely focused on certain things, you're going to miss out on opportunities. For me, I had an opportunity knock on my door, and it was the junk removal business. I could have easily, believe me, fuck that. I don't know anything about trash, blah, blah, blah. But I was at a point in my life where I had no excuse to say no. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, fuck it. Why not? Why not entertain this opportunity? And it ended up being one of the best moves of my life, because it got me to where I am now. All because I entertained a new opportunity that wasn't in my tunnel vision, right? At the time, obviously, my tunnel vision wasn't very, it was very broad. I was very mixed up and scattered, but still. So this video, the whole time he was just talking about, a lot of times we get focused on the far out, and we don't understand or realize the opportunities that we're missing on a daily basis. But then at the end of the day, it's easy for us to say, oh, well, we didn't get these opportunities. Well, you probably did. They just zoomed on past you, or you weren't looking.
I like it. Well, speaking of opportunities, let's get to some questions. Some
Yeah.
people jumped out. Let's go to Grant first. Here's Grant's question. I'm about to bid a demo slash removal drywall job. It's a decent sized job, removal of ceilings and a few walls. I've done demo before, but I'm concerned about liability. Any tips would be greatly appreciated. All right. Well, there's a
Because
lot here packed in. Um, let's work our way backwards, right? So let's talk about liability.
mhm,
Obviously there's a standard textbook answer of make sure you have the right insurance that covers you in workers' comp. That's the no shit liability. Um, Also make sure you're
that's the
licensed
first
for
tip.
it.
I mean, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, right. Like make sure before you even walk in, you have the paperwork, right? I hated when I first started business, I tell my brother, like, I got paperwork. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know. There's like I have to open the mail and figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do as a business owner, you know? And now it's not even a question of paperwork. Now it's a question of, hey, I know I need a certificate of liability insurance. And I also sometimes have to talk to my insurance company and say, hey, am I allowed to do this thing? And if so, what are the risks I'm taking? And the nice thing about insurance companies is they don't want you to get all jacked up. They will tell you what the risks are, you know? And I can tell you some of the risks when doing the physical job itself, when taking out drywall, especially when you're taking out ceilings, you're going to be, considering if there's electrical up there, if there's insulation. I mean, there's a lot to consider about the physical job itself. And then we can talk a little bit about um, how to physically do it. So I mean, Casey, you did you do a lot of interior guts, or was it mostly taking the houses down?
We probably did, I don't know, a few interior demos weekly because,
Yeah.
and this is what I tell everyone, a lot of people want to go and knock a house down, right? Seems fun,
Yeah.
seems cool. It's a great Facebook opportunity, right? Oh, I get to put some cool shit on Facebook. But the fact is, it's more expensive. Your liability is up the ass. It's just huge,
Yep.
and it does take skill and knowledge of what you're doing. So what I tell people is before you get into a great big house, it's just like building a house. Before you go build a house, maybe remodel a kitchen, maybe remodel the living room first. See if this it's in your wheelhouse. Same
Yeah.
thing with demo. Interior demo as a junk removal company, you're already set up for it. You really are. You have people, you have a trailer or a truck with a haul off opportunity, and you don't need special equipment. You need hand tools, maybe. The most you may need is, and that's, I mean, light demo, maybe a jack tile remover thing, but
Yeah.
even then, I don't mess with flooring. The biggest thing I
Yeah.
would say is it. We were doing interior demo in anywhere from a $200,000 house to $5 million homes,
Yep.
right? And I'll tell you this: the process didn't change. Whether we were in the hood or in the luxurious $5 million mansion, we had a standard, we had a process. From the minute we walked in the door, that first hour, we made sure that we covered all of our liability um, bases. So we laid down protective paper or plastic, taped it off. We made sure we got over confirm the area that you're demoing, by the way. Make sure you know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, whatever you're about to take away is supposed to be taken away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, remember, interior demo is it's not always an opportunity to go ham on a wall. Like, you don't want to just go in there and be like, it's all about technique and
Yep.
what is going to take the least amount of effort. Because remember, you got to clean that shit up. So if you're in there just going crazy and you're making a huge mess, well, you're there longer and you're just burning time. So for me, since I had the most experience at the time of my team, I would actually, with my operations manager, his first demo, I walked through the whole thing with him. And I just said, look, sometimes you'll yank drywall down and it comes off in a big sheet. For me, that's a
Yep.
win. I'm like, hell yeah. That's a whole big surface area that I didn't have to mess with.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't get that lucky. Sometimes you try to do it and you just get a little hole in a hole because it's rotted.
Yep.
Well, the other thing is safety. For me, safety it's number one for your guys, for yourself, and for the future of your health. So if you're knocking out a ceiling, it says right here, right? Removal of ceilings. Okay, cool.
Yep.
The, I'll tell you this right now. I don't care how manly you think you are. Three things is a must when you're tearing out ceilings: a hard hat, Nipro, and a freaking mask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, because that first day you're like, oh, I'm cool, I don't have a mask. The next day, you're gonna be a bitch. It's gonna suck. You're coughing. It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck bad. So I would definitely look at some videos, obviously, but just remember you're in there. You're not taking the whole house down. So focus on the little area. Keep it
Yep.
clean as you go.
Yep.
Andy had a great example. You've seen this many times, but have a bucket guy. Like all they're doing is loading buckets of trash and
Humping and
debris.
loading. Yeah.
That's it.
When you're standing on drywall and walking over drywall, I'm trying to put bins on drywall. You spend more time fighting it. Go get you a
Yep.
manure shovel, a plastic manure shovel, right? And you rip the drywall down. If you rip it down to big sheets, carry it out right away. That's it. If you're ripping down like pretty near, full sheets, basically, if it's too big to stand into a garbage can, start leaning them against the wall. Um, Tip: if you're taking the flooring out, the flooring goes last. If you're on
Yeah.
carpet or linoleum, whatever, I've seen so many guys that take the flooring out first.
Oh man,
No, beat the shit
use
out of
it to
that
your
floor.
advantage.
Use it to your advantage because here's the deal: you're gonna when you start pulling that floor up, then you do your final clean at the end, right? So there's that. Also, I want to hear your perspective on this, Casey. Let's say you're in a dining room. I don't know. I'm just thinking about a dining room. Dining room. Do you take out the ceiling first or the walls first when you're taking out drywall? What would you do first, ceiling or walls?
So it depends on the room. First off, if they're going to be using the house, a lot of them still live in the house, right?
Yeah,
So if you're going to be, taking plastic and taping up the walls
yeah,
or the open areas, remember when you take that ceiling out, it could, I'm not saying it will, it could crack a piece of the next drywall over, right?
yep.
So just be careful. Make sure you find the seams. And
There
it's
you go.
hard to do that in the ceiling unless you go into the attic,
Yeah, even at
maybe
that.
brush
Yeah,
off, you know.
yeah, insulation.
Um,
Yeah,
but I think for me, I would do the ceiling first because that's the biggest
yep,
mess.
yep,
The ceiling is that's you don't know what's under the insulation up there. You're gonna get insulation. You're gonna get rat shit. You're gonna get dead rats sometimes,
oh yeah,
and it just falls. And once you have it all down, what I would do, I would take all the ceiling down, everything, clean it all up, and take it out of the house. And then when you go back in there, it's completely clean, and all you have left is the walls.
yep.
That's what I would do,
No, so you
100%.
did it. You said it the exact way I've always done it. And that's the way to do it. Get the ceiling out.
Yeah,
The other thing is once the ceiling's out, then you can have 2 or 3 people working on 2 or 3 different walls. When the ceiling's
yeah,
coming out, you only have basically one guy pulling it down because once that is, especially if it's a yeah, if it's a first story ceiling and there's a second story and there's no insulation, you're good. You just rip it out.
hmm,
So a couple tips. What Casey said, use a if you're not, especially if you have a piece of drywall that transitions from one area to the next, you're not sure, score it. I even like to score the corners in a room when I'm pulling ceilings down because sometimes that paint will stick and you get little nobulars stuck, right? So I like to score all the seams. And what I mean by scoring, not to insult anybody's intelligence, basically take a razor blade and cut it at what you think the seams or not at joints, at natural joints. Or if it's a transition from one room to the next, find a uh, uh, find your ceiling joist. It's going to be 1.5 inches thick because it's a 2x4 or 2x6 or a 2x8, and score it right down the middle. That's if you have a transitional piece, right, where the ceiling remains the same from like a dining room to a living room where there's no doorway in between, right? So score it. Otherwise, you're going to end up pulling it back way far into the next room when you don't want to, and that's going to impact other people. So score it right down the center of that joint. Take it
hmm,
down. There's a couple people I've seen this before where you put down your flooring protection and then people put down tarps. I
hmm.
do not like tarps personally because
They
they
slide.
make cleanup a little bit easier, but they make it very unsafe. Tarp
Yeah, it's
with
very
some
slippery.
fucking drywall dust or loose insulation, that is a slip fest nightmare, and I've done it
Mhm.
before. So I am against using tarps and things like that because here's the deal: if it's carpet, chances are they're not keeping the fucking carpet. If they got carpet down and you're pulling drywall, like
Mhm.
that's a shit situation. Then
And
you'd have to put
if they
yeah,
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say if they plan on keeping the carpet, maybe that's also where you come in with your salesman
like
hat and
you got to
say, "Hey,
get this
look,
carpet out. Yeah, we're
you
already
might want to
doing
get rid
this.
of the carpet too. We're
Yeah,
only going to charge you an extra $100 or whatever."
$200. He's got.
Right?
You're right. You got to clean the carpet anyways. It's probably faster to rip the carpet up than it is to clean it.
Yeah.
You know. And then yeah, once you're on the walls, then just take it out in big chunks and just stack it. Stack it. Use as many or use as little as bins as possible. The whole goal is to get it out in big pieces. And once you make your first hole, you can pretty much rip drywall off by hand. The problem is guys
Ah,
go in there with pry bars and sledgehammers or
ledge.
regular
Yeah.
hammers, and then also all you're doing is tearing the drywall. Like once you get the drywall going, go. Now gypsum board will break different than drywall. And I don't feel I got lath and plaster down there in Texas or where this guy Grant is
Not
from.
so much
We got lath,
anymore, really.
yeah, we got lath and plaster here in Wisconsin, and that's a whole nother thing. So we already know this is drywall. Rip it out by hand. Last piece of advice or last piece of safety gear: gloves. Always wear fucking
Oh
gloves.
yeah.
I was in my backyard. I cut my hand the other day because I got soft ass keyboard hands, and I was picking up this little like 4 foot by 6 foot trailer that we picked up off the job, and we were putting it in a 40-yard dumpster, the sheet iron dumpster. And I fucking cut my damn hand on the light. Stupid. That's what I get for having soft
Well,
ass hands, not wearing gloves.
I would say the one thing I forgot to tell you
Yeah.
is if you're going to go into the wall and the ceiling, two things: find out where all the wiring is
Mm.
and get it cut. Like get the power cut off to that area.
Yep.
Um, Minimal is the breaker box. I would even go as far as getting an electrician to come out there because here's the deal: you don't know what you don't know, and all it takes is that snip or that that axe or whatever you're using the crowbar to just pop a live wire, and it could be pretty bad, disastrous even.
Yeah, you can burn a house down with much effort at all. You hit a wire, hit
Hmm.
a wire, get a spark. It's a bad day. No, that is very, yeah. Especially when you're talking working around outlets, or if they have ceiling fans, ceiling fixtures. Is being conscious of that. Typically,
Hmm.
your electricity is going to be ran between, right. You got a switch and it's going to go up and around. So start in like the opposite corner of the doorway, because typically you're not going to have, uh, especially an outside wall, you're not going to have electrical typically going up and over, um, because you're not have a switch on the outside wall or the back wall. So there you go. There's some tips and tricks there. All right, we got Jacob Sanchez from Texas, South Central Texas. What do you do to stay productive? I'll be it'll be my first winter. We had a hell of a year so far. Just want to keep the guys and myself busy. Well, I hate the word busy, and busy is bullshit, and especially in junk removal. What I've found is
So the
guys will stay
question he
busy
asked was,
over the winter. It was a good question.
what do you do to stay productive? I'm just trying
Yes,
to keep the
which is
guys
good.
busy. Like you already said the right word,
Those
just got to use it again.
great. Yeah, yeah, exactly. How do I stay productive? Because being busy in junk removal is real easy. A lot of people get busy in junk removal and not productive. So let's focus on the productive part, because if all you're looking to do is be busy, you can find yourself spending a lot of money doing a lot of stupid shit, being busy and keeping your guys
Hmm.
busy and not making money. So, Casey, this is more your question, right? Up here, I say you can plow snow and do some other stuff. To say busy, productive is a little bit different. So, what are some other adjunct things that you did, or what type of work was kicked off in the winter that he can start advertising for now, so people know to call him when this thing happens?
Yeah. So he probably understands this now, but right now we're getting our weather in. I mean, right now we've had maybe 5 straight days of just rain and wind. Lots of rain and wind. What happens when you have a lot of rain and wind? You have fences falling over, you have tree branches breaking, you name it. So just be cognizant of that. I mean, you can just put a post out, hey, brush removal is this much. For me personally, I loved brush removal because it was recyclable. So I knew I could recycle it, and it's tax free, as in the state of Texas, as far as sales tax goes. Like you don't have to pay sales tax on recyclable material like
Hmm.
brush. So you can market that saying, hey, it's $400 for a full trailer, no tax. I know it sounds crazy. You're like, oh, well, people don't really care. Oh, believe me, I've had arguments over tax. So the fact that you can say, hey, no tax, it actually might get someone's attention. Um, the other thing is, right now you have to look at the 3 big days. You have Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Okay. Right now, festivities are everywhere. I know Halloween's
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, so we'll go ahead and scratch that one. But Thanksgiving's coming up. So you're gonna have a lot of festivals, fall festivals in your little communities, towns, whatever. Those are great places to market and to be a part of. Set up a table. It's cheap, $200. Set up a table for an all-day thing, and you get 2,000 or more people walking by. The other thing that I like to do is hook up with a pumpkin patch because now they're trying to get
Yep.
rid of their overflow, their bad
Yep.
pumpkins, their non-sold pumpkins, all the cardboard gaylords that they came in, the hay bales that got wet, they just sit there now. They need to get rid of it all. Well, you're their guy, right? You provide the labor and the haul off. But then also you got to remember, there, with with Thanksgiving and Christmas, you have Black Friday, so people are going
Yep.
to be
People
buying
buy shit.
crap, and then you have Christmas. People are going to be buying shit. What you need to focus on right now is the gap between a week before Christmas and 2 weeks max after New Year's. That's probably going to be the worst statistical time for junk removal, at least down here, at least what I've seen. Week before
Yeah,
Christmas, it's almost dead. And then two
it
weeks
is.
after New Year's, this is when we start kind of picking up some business again. So
Yep.
that's when I would at least get a training agenda, at least right now, written up. Hey, if I can't afford to have all my guys come in every day, maybe I could do a one crew here, one crew here, and then on one day of the week I could bring everyone in for like a 4 hour just raining. Well, let's go over this right now to get ready for the new year. If you have a guy who you think is just stellar, man, I really want him to step it up. Guess what? Now's a great time for one-on-one. Give him expectations. Ask him what he wants. Ask him what he looks for in a career. I mean, these are all basics, but they're normally covered up by the, oh, I'm too busy to really take care of these things. Everyone
Yep.
we've talked to is, when we hit a slow season, what do? Well, you work in your business. This is when you get back in your business and you get ready for the new year. You get your processes on point. You write up those standards, or you redevelop standards. Sometimes you may have standards and you look at them like, man, we need to tighten up. How can we improve? Right? Look at your spending. Um, you'd be surprised how many people overspend and not even think of it. They're too lax with their budgets, whether it be on the trucks or the guys or marketing. Right now, everybody's doing it. Everybody's getting ready for the new year, the new fiscal year. So this is when you see contracts expire, and this is when you see vendors get replaced by new vendors because hey, we found a better option for next year. Um, at the same time, I learned this last week. I had an influx of requests on our storage facility, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" Oh, I forgot. The end of the month's coming up. Well, that's a big ordeal when it comes to apartment complexes, when it comes
Yep.
to storage facilities. The end of the month is when people are getting booted or when they're moving in. So keep that in mind as well. That's
Yeah,
my
no,
take.
yeah, no, I love it. And that's you had to anticipate what the market's going to need and advertise for it 6 to 8 weeks before the market starts needing that thing. So right
Hmm.
now, you got to start anticipating what is the right now it's 30th of October. What is the customer going to need right before and right after Christmas? That's what you need to start developing your marketing plans and planting that seed. So like in my area, for example, I know I haul probably about 50% of my hot tubs throughout the year. I haul in about an 8 week period between mid March and mid
Really?
May. Yeah. Yeah, because hot tubbing is a thing you do in the winter, and a lot of people's hot tubs go to shit in the winter, and or
Mhm.
they want to take on a spring project and don't want it. So I haul
Mhm.
about half of my hot tubs between mid March and mid May, as soon as the snow breaks, and people are starting to do their
We
cleanup in
did a
their
lot in
backyard.
the winter, man.
Yeah, and then we
We did a
then we take
lot,
out a
and it
hand.
sucked because you have to empty
Yeah.
them, and you're getting wet, and it's cold as shit, and you're like, "This
Oh, we
sucks
don't.
ass."
Oh, we requires ours to be empty. Oh, we don't mess around with full hot tubs.
Yeah,
We tell people, yeah. I mean, a few times we've had to let people borrow a sump pump, and throw a pump in there, but no, otherwise we have people empty them. I don't mess around
yeah,
with full
that's
hot
true.
tubs. Um, yeah, you got to empty them. You got to or disconnect. I was gonna say unplug them. Yeah, disconnect them. I don't mess around with. I'm not a plumber. I'm not an electrician. I don't mess around with those things.
No, I don't
Um,
either.
so yeah, so whether it's brush or Christmas tree removal or pumpkin removal,
They're
you got to anticipate
dude,
what
you
the
Christmas
demand
trees, yeah.
is. Yeah, and right now is the time. When I mean advertise, come up with your marketing strategy now. So mid-December, you can say like, "Hey, happy holidays! By the way, if you need a Christmas tree removed, like I know it's a guy that made his money the week between or the week after New Year's because he did Christmas tree removal. Now in our area, you
Hmm.
can put your almost every community you can put your tree out on the curb and it'll pick it
Hmm.
up, right? So it's like, all right, it doesn't work in my area, and yet some places people don't have the resource to do it.
And do you know
So
why you can put it out on the curb?
by my
Because
area,
it's recyclable.
well, yeah, ours is
Yeah,
because
the
it's part
community
of
doesn't have
yard.
to pay for it really.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's part of yard waste. Yeah, I mean, you still got to send the truck and they got to pick it up and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's part like Christmas tree removal is like the second week of January. It's part of the
Hmm.
municipalities around here. Yeah, and trash companies they see a huge influx of
Hmm.
curbside trash first week of January, last week of December or first week of January from all the whatchamacallit and who's jiggers that people buy for Christmas.
Cardboard and styrofoam.
Oh yeah, tons of it. So also look at
So
that.
look at landscape companies. October 1st, they start advertising Christmas lights
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they anticipate the season,
Six to eight,
and they
6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks
and they
on the
know
head.
they're about
Yeah.
to stop mowing. So now they got to
Yep.
start climbing on ladders and putting Christmas lights up. And the crazy thing is, it works for them because they have 3 months, 3 to 4 months. It's just like, hold on, where's that question again? Um, he just asked pretty much what he was saying. Oh yeah, right here, Jacob.
Yeah.
I just want to keep the guys and myself busy or productive. This is why landscape companies do Christmas lights. It's very, very low overhead, and they already have the crews. They know for a fact springtime is going to happen. They know for a fact they're going to get back to mowing.
Yep.
So they're like, what do I do for this gap? Well, why not do Christmas lights? Now, as a junk removal guy, look, I'm not saying do it, but it's an option if you really want to get away from junk removal for 3 months.
No, I mean, I do not like doing other industries
No, I
because
don't either.
every year I put a thought into it. It's an investment. The only time it
That's the
makes
thing is,
sense is when we can't do junk removal. So we might get 2 or 3 days a year where it snows so much that it's
yeah,
not possible for us to drive on roads without getting stuck. And on those days, I'll tell my guys, or even there's plenty of snow removal companies around here. They'll hire anybody for the day labor to go
hmm
shovel, and then I'll tell my
yeah,
guys to go do that. Or even I've done in the past. I use those snow days to get caught up on so much shit, right? Because I'm working in my business that day. Also with us, when there's a snowstorm, fucking catch my fucking mid afternoon fucking tiredness here. When there's a snowstorm, our phones don't fucking ring.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is, and I think that's why it worked for landscape companies because after a certain date, it stopped growing, right?
Yeah.
So now they're like, look, our maintenance contracts are really going to consist of irrigation and any of the actual seasonal flowers in the flower beds that we have to change out. Other than that, they're almost going to be coming to a stop. As far as junk removal goes, though, it doesn't happen that way, right? Everybody's always accumulating shit.
Yep.
So the best thing you can do is get out in front of it and just know and plan. Andy said this, I don't know how many times. This is why having cash is key, having some money stashed away. Because
Yep.
if you anticipate the adjustment, it's going to slow down. It's not, I don't technically call it a slow season because it's different for everyone, but you're going to have a slow period where things just kind of mellow out. And if you have that money stashed away and you can actually use it, there's two things. This is how you keep your guys, right? You have them come in and still, hey, training, they can market, they can go do the random marketing tasks that you usually do. They can go do it. Have them come in for a couple hours. You'd be surprised what a couple hours worth of 0 hours does. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people I've asked, hey man, look, we don't have anything lined up for tomorrow, man. Nothing. And they go, hey, you mind if I come in and just go do door hangers for 2 hours? And I say 100% yes, come on in. That's nothing to me. And for them, it gets them out of the house. Maybe they just want to go to work for 2 hours, right? That extra $30 or whatever they're getting paid, it's not like it changes their life, but it means something.
Yeah.
So just think about that.
No, that's the thing. If the goal is, let's go back to the root of the question, productive. What are
Yeah.
productive things you can do to either capture revenue now or generate revenue in the future? Everything else is, to his point, busy. Everything else is a distraction from my perspective. All right, Gino Victoria said he appreciated the recommendation for the book Start a Six-Figure Junk Removal Business by Michael Metlich. Metlich? The guy's out of junk removal too. Remember, I linked and I stalked him on the show. However, I do highly recommend that book, Start a Six-Figure Junk Removal Business. It's a red book, white lettering, $20, but a 90-minute read. It's good. That's it. So there you go. That's the thing. Our goal here on the Trash Talk Business Podcast is to not have all the answers. The goal is to have the questions that get us to the right answers. And that's why we asked you guys out in the audience, like, what do you want us to cover? We've covered a lot of topics. The first, 30, 40 episodes were real simple. It's like, hey, what information did we want to know before we did it? Got into junk removal. What have we learned along the way? Who have we found? And we continue to challenge you, the audience, to challenge us. What do you guys want to hear about? What do you want us to cover? What's something that we talked about briefly you want us to go more in depth on? Which guest do you want us to? Adam Hosmer, he's a AHG Disposal in Western Mass. He's going to be joining us on the 20th. I saw that come through this weekend. So he's going to be joining us on the podcast. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear about everybody's individual stories so that we can make this podcast as good as possible and so that we build this community. Speaking of Justin Waltz, talk to him over the weekend. I'll give him a shout out. He's got the Junk Removal Millionaire. He's got an in-person event coming up in a couple of weeks. Russ Berry is going to be there. I'm unable to attend. I'm going to be playing Army that week. It's the 9th and 10th of December. So I'll give him a shout out for what he's doing there. Reach out to Justin Waltz. Justin also agreed, I even tell Case this. Justin also agreed to be a guest on the podcast quarterly. So he'll be joining us similar to Andy Barton. So you can learn from the man that knows the macro perspective on junk removal. Speaking of, this is why this group works, and this is why associate with people and Facebook friends and whatever, having affiliates and associates in the junk removal industry matter. Andy Barton hit me up the other day. He's like, "Hey, did you start online booking yet? What's the story?" Right? He's bugging me because I said I was going to do it, and I will say, well, I'll tell my audience right now, effective November 1st, you will be able to book online Camel Crew junk removal services because, kind of like you said, Casey, which was right, say no instead of finding a reason to say no all the time. Find a reason to say yes. So that's exactly what I did. Found a reason.
It's a great time to start something new as well. I mean, look,
Yeah.
here's the thing. You already said no, right? During your highest and lowest parts of the year. The
Yep.
fact that you're saying yes in a statistically lower part of the year, it means if it works, if it gets you a few jobs, it's working better than it has before, right?
Yep. All right. So one of the so Taylor directed me over to the podcast page, which I'm going to present because I'm going to figure out how to do computer internet things. Because I do that sometimes. Get on the internet, no big deal. Here we go. I got it figured out. Here we go. All right. So Taylor, our admin, the producer extraordinaire of the Trash Talk Business Podcast VIP Group, put up a snap and share comment with a photo of one of your jobs this week and something you learned. So Jacob Sanchez, who had asked us that question, actually sent us a picture of him working one of his jobs with his kid at the zoo. And that is a W, right? Use the junk removal dream to facilitate and live your best life. Adam, who's going to be on our podcast, put up a picture here, agricultural shot of a trailer, almost looks like the size of a Connex box out there in the back 40 went away. And then here, one of our customers called us for a rolled off dumpster because they have a garage file. You might need to bring a new garbage can for the weekly photo as well. All right. Or garage fire. So there you go. Garage fires happen. That's why they tell you not to put hot coals in your trash can. So there you go. A couple of snapping shots, right? The reason why we're doing little things like that on the podcast is because we want to encourage this to become a community, right? Justin talked about it. There are a lot of communities and organizations, associations with other industries, and the junk removal community doesn't have that. It's one of the reasons why Casey and I decided to turn this into a live show instead of a static thing where it was a conversation between us. We want to involve different people in the junk removal community and want to know what's working for you. Where are your wins? Because there are going to be tough times. Justin talked about it. Jacob's already talked about it here in Texas. There are going to be tough times over the winter. There's going to be tough times next year. It's election year. Economy's teetering, right? And there's going to be next winter, right? Like I'm already thinking about next winter. Those that put in the
think
work.
About next year.
What's that?
I said, yeah, think about next year because that's the thing is.
I'm already my brain is in April of 2025 right now. That is on my head. I'm like, I got to go hard for 18 months.
Yeah.
That's where my brain is. We got to get through.
I think it's crucial to meet
winter.
these connections now that are going to benefit you in that time period.
100%. I am 18 months out. Here's my hillbilly math. It's gonna be 6 months right now before the winter's over. Then it's gonna be 6 months of political turmoil BS, and 6 months of more winter. Like that is the next. If I break it down in thirds, that's the next 18 months.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a war in the Middle East, a war in Eastern Europe. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go south real quick. So in my head, at the very least, I got 18 months where we got to go hard. It was a feast in 21 and 22. 23 is reality check. 24 is going to be a slap in the face. For the people that have gotten in the last 3 years, it's going to be a hell of a lot more difficult than it's been. I've talked to somebody else this last week, a trash broker I know, and she said that she's got people calling her the last 6 months, asking for work because they got nothing. They've gone days or weeks without jobs.
I mean, this is
So
when you become proactive with your
yes,
reactive clients because
yes,
think about this. I'm not sure how bad the winters get in Wisconsin because y'all are used to the weather, but
yeah,
down here, when we have a freeze, immediately we're gonna have busted pipes, we're gonna have floods, we're gonna have leaks, and next thing you know, you have restoration companies getting crazy amounts of business where other people are getting less.
yep,
When you make those partnerships, now you're a phone call away. Hey man, we're gonna be demoing this out. We just need it hauled away. Or hey, we already went through and marked everything needs to be taken out and hauled away. So then you go in. This is where that demo comes in handy too. Um, let's say a house floods, pipe breaks, whatever. They immediately are going to go about 24 inches from the floor, and they're going to cut that drywall. And they'll go in
okay,
there, and they'll usually tape it, or they'll cut it, and they'll take it out, or they'll say, "Hey, we're going to tape it, and you come in and you take it out and haul it away," right? Because they're going to be doing the flooring, all that shit. So for you to take one thing off their plate, it helps because a lot of times, especially during a shitty weather season, they're going to have multiple houses at the same time. So the last thing they want to do is tie their guys up per house. We saw this when we got a couple tornadoes, man. We get those every year, right? Tornadoes come in. We already know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
yep,
So you'll see roofing companies. They get so overwhelmed that they got all this business because they were marketing through the summer and all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, we have 25 houses in the same neighborhood. I can't even get to this house for another 3 weeks. So they'll go and do a temp job, right? You ever see roofs like a decent house? You'll see like a
yep.
tarp on a roof
Oh
on
yeah,
patches. It's because well, hey, this will do for now. Well,
yeah,
that's why they sub to other roofing companies. You'd be
yep.
surprised. Roofing companies work together.
Oh yeah,
Now you need to work with those restoration companies, remodeling companies, because when the shit hits the fan, they get overwhelmed too. And at least you can provide the labor and the haul off aspect.
yeah. No, you're dead on. That's where you can't wait till this tornado hits. Now
Mm,
is the time to make those connections. Now is the time for people to know that you have to be the only choice. I look to be the only choice in junk removal in my area.
yeah,
99% of the places I go, I'm the only person, right?
yeah.
I outwork my competition. I offer something that they cannot or that they do not offer. I don't know if they can offer. They do not offer what I offer. So my opportunity then is to get out in front of people and let people know what I do, what makes us unique, right? So that we become the only choice. And my goal
Yeah, I
is
want
to
to say
be in
the
business in 18 months. And if that means others aren't, so what? Like that's
yeah.
part of the hustle. Right now, there's some people that say there's too many junk removal companies. No, the market is prime, it's rich, whatever. I don't know. There's only one junk removal company I give a shit about, and that's mine. I don't give a
You
shit
want
about
to talk
other
about too
people's.
many? Go look at see how many banks there are. How many small banks?
Oh yeah,
Go look and
tons
see
of them.
how many
Yeah,
grocery stores there are. Right? They're not all competing with Walmart or HEB or Brookshires. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So you look at it and say, look, have a designated area that you want to master. You want to be the only person. You want to be a household name, right?
yep,
Focus on that. When this is goes way back into time when we talked about, but you have to know your population. You got to know these things because if you say, hey, I got a population of 100,000 and I've had 5,000 customers this year in my area alone. Okay, cool. You have 95% of business untouched by your company. You
yep,
got a lot of work to do. So
yeah.
this is that time, right? So I was going to tell you this. I think there was a couple years. I want to say I was telling who was I telling about this? I think it was you, man. Either you or Justin when we had him on. But we had an October and a November was like our highest month one year. It was insane. We had like a six-figure month in the summer, but then we had a six-figure month October or November, which was odd. But it was because our commercial was like through the roof,
Yeah.
right? And I noticed that when residential tightens up, you can always rely on commercial if you have those connections,
Correct. You
right?
need the correct. You need the commercials with commercial. You need the connections with commercial to start, right? Sometimes commercial jobs are 2-3 weeks out, sometimes 2-3 months, sometimes 2-3 years. Residential,
Yeah,
they're 2-3 days, right?
yeah,
People meet you, they're like, "Hey, I need a thing."
hmm
Yeah, again, we've talked about this 100 times. When you
yeah.
wait for it to be slow to first start relationships and first start networking, it's way too late. It's already too late. It's been too late.
hmm
You got to do it during the ups and downs. I have a consulting client. I was talking to them on Thursday. I said, "Hey, how'd your week go?" And they said, "Really well. Not only did we make our revenue goal for the week, we also went to 2 networking events." They're like, "Because we're not going to wait till we're slow again." Because in the past, they'd be like, "Oh, we made a revenue goal this week. We're not worrying about networking." And now they've embraced and realized, no, you need a, you know, networking marketing. It's all about consistency over time. People want to see you consistently show up, consistently contribute, consistently make introductions. And then you've put enough work in to earn the opportunity for people to refer you and to make introductions for you or hire you for jobs. That's what
Yeah. So
the only way it works.
I want to say I want to say my year 3 and 4, mainly me. Yeah, year 3 and 4 for me. My mom would ask me how many new connections did I make every week, right? And I would put
Yep.
on there, hey, this was a win for me, right? A lot of us want to count just dollars for wins. For me, it
Yep.
was new opportunities. Um, so at my level in the business, it was how many new connections did you make, not how many dollars did you bring in, because it's hard to count that when you bring those connections from those are the source, right? Anyways,
Mhm.
so at the end of the week, I'd always write it down and I'd put it on my whiteboard. But then when I hired my ops manager, Augie, I think you met Augie,
Yeah, man, Augie,
I would
old
ask
dude.
him this, yeah, older, short Hispanic guy, super, super
Mhm.
burly. But I'd ask
Yeah.
him the same thing. Like, hey man, the end of the week could come by. Hey, how many connections did you make this week? And that actually pushes them to market for you, but also
Oh yeah.
pushes them to get better at their elevator pitch, get better at doing more that you're already doing as the owner or, whatever your position is. If you're out there doing everything and then all of a sudden you have a guy or a girl take a couple things off your plate, that's a win, man. Doesn't always have to be
Huge win.
dollars.
Oh yeah.
You're president, right? What's his name? Ken?
Ken.
Do you
Yep.
ever, yeah, do you ever, hey man, what did you do this week? What did you accomplish this week? I'm not saying you have to babysit them, but I'm sure you have at least an
Oh no, no.
expectation.
We have a weekly email or weekly email. We have
Yeah.
a weekly 1 hour sales meeting, which is what follow ups are necessary from last week's networking. My goal is
Hmm.
3 actions. My goal is 3 actions after every networking event I go to. And so there was one networking event I went to last week. I had 3 people. Just so happens, 2 of the 3 people at the table I sat next to were real estate attorneys. I'm like, yep, please and thank you. Right. That worked, right?
Yeah.
And so I made introductions there to Ken right away because he follows up with them, right? So I had an actionable thing, and now he has a follow up, and now he can go have a lunch or coffee or one on one or whatever. My goal is three um, actionable activities after a networking event. So that could
Yeah.
be perfect world, book a job. Like someone's like, oh, I'd
Hmm.
love to hire you, which happens sometimes. Second
Hmm.
thing is one-on-ones. Third thing is I ask for introductions. So maybe I go and I meet someone that's not my ideal client, like financial planners. I mean, a shitload of financial planners. I will
Yeah.
email a financial planner and be like, hey, who are 3 people that clients or not clients, that could use our services potentially? Right? If I go residential. Or I say, hey, I want to target senior living, real estate, property management. Who are 3 people in your network you could introduce me to?
Hmm.
And more often than not, they're looking for something to do. They're looking to because they want to do a favor for you because then they'll feel like you owe them a favor in the future. And you might.
It also
I
gets
mean,
them. It also motivates them to get out of their office or make a
absolutely.
phone call they weren't planning on making.
Yeah. And then when you tell people exactly what you need from them, like, hey, I need 3 of your clients that need my services. Who are your clients are fucking moving? Who of
Hmm.
these clients are older and gonna move in the next 2 years, right? Once you start planning, not like, hey, give me 3 referrals, like the standard bullshit BNI, right? A great referral for me would be this. No, I'll be like, hey, this is exactly the person I'm looking for. Is that person in your network?
Yeah.
And there are people that will, because they got nothing else to do, right? They're waiting. They'll build up their
They like
karma.
being the go-to person too. A lot of people
Absolutely, they
like
want
that
it. Yeah,
gratification.
yeah. Oh, I love it when people text me like, "Hey, I know you got someone that does this. Who you got?" I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
"Bet."
Yeah.
Like that makes me feel like I contributed to at least 2 people's businesses. The person that's buying, the person that's selling.
Yeah. And that's the thing is going into this winter season now, your strategy for Ken is going to change a little bit. His daily activities, his weekly agenda may
Oh yeah,
may alternate towards the season. Like instead of
yep,
doing A, B, and C, now you're going to kind of focus on more C and D, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I think a lot of us we get caught up in the, especially if you're owner operator right now. If you're stuck in the truck, maybe have one or two people that are working with you. You have to understand the hardest part is staying the course through the worst times. We talked about
Yep.
this a couple episodes ago. Consistency over time, right? I posted something on LinkedIn. By the way, I'm back on LinkedIn, everybody. So what up? But
You got
I
off
posted
LinkedIn?
something. Yeah, for like 3 months. Took a break. I had some spammy stuff, some scam, and next thing you know, my shit got hacked, and I
Oh,
just
I
didn't
do
want to mess
remember
with
that.
it for like
Yeah.
3 months. But I posted something. The Texas Rangers. Obviously, I'm a fan, but they went, 7 games with the Houston Astros, and they won. Well, the Houston Astros are notorious of being our kryptonite. And the one
Yeah.
thing I
And
noticed
cheaters.
that, yeah, well, but one thing I noticed is no matter what, whenever we are playing at home and we're playing the Houston Astros, like why can't we win? Like I don't understand. It's a psyche thing. And
Yep.
everybody wanted us to change the pitchers and the lineup, all this other stuff. But Bruce Bochy, the manager, he kept the standard that he had in place. He stayed the course, and consistency won. Now, I stated on LinkedIn the whole season was built on consistency because I know you probably don't follow baseball this much, and I don't either. But I followed the Rangers this year,
Yep.
and they would go on streaks. It was very weird. They'd go on like a 9 game winning streak, followed by like a 6 or 7 game losing streak, then another 8 game winning streak. And it was just like everybody's like, well, at least they're consistent.
Yep.
That's the key, right? Now they're in the fucking World Series. And they were even, I think, fourth or fifth seed. And now they're in the World Series. Actually, both teams that are in the World Series right now, right, had under 93 wins for the season. I think Arizona had like 80 something. Like pretty much everyone was like, look, you're not going to the World Series. And now they're the only
Yeah.
two left standing because they were consistent.
Uh, yeah. So this is what I do know about baseball. Every team that has beaten the Brewers in the playoffs since the beginning
Mhm.
of the Brewers has made it to the World Series, including the Arizona Diamondbacks, who beat us. We were in the playoffs for like 26 hours,
That's like the wild
basically.
card, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now, so yeah, the meme that popped up on my Facebook the other day was every single team that's ever beaten the Brewers has gone on to the World Series,
Hmm.
and majority of them won it. So the Brewers only made it to the World Series once, so obviously that team, and yet like the Braves from 2 years ago or 3 years ago made it. Like if you beat the Brewers,
Yeah.
you're in. Like that's it. That's the rule. Whoever beats the Brewers and whoever beats the Brewers in the National League, you are might as well stamp your ticket. So and it's
Crazy.
also Killer's a Brewers fan because they're like, okay, all we had to do was win that series, and theoretically we were, fast track.
Messes everything up.
Yeah. All right. It's been an
All right.
hour. We've covered a bunch of things. What else? Is there anything
That
left? Any
flew by.
stones left unturned? Yeah, we talked about unpredictable weather. We talked about things to do. Get out in front of it. We got some guests coming up the next couple of weeks. Shout out anybody if you want to be a guest. Taylor can put up the link. I don't know what the hell it is. Basically, go to the Trash Talk Business Podcast page and website, and you can apply to be a guest there. Or you can always hit up Casey or me personally. I'll still just direct you over to Taylor to
Mhm.
come on and be a guest. Our whole goal is to bring people on. I am considering bringing on the Serve Pro guy to get a perspective on restoration companies and franchises and all that.
Mhm.
Because I said a bunch of shit about Serve Pro that I've heard secondhand. It'd be good to hear it firsthand. All right, there we go. Taylor
Well, I
did
do
it
know.
right. Head over to
Yeah.
Trash Talk Business Podcast.com
Be a guest. There
and
you
click
go.
on Be a Guest to apply.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I will say that, Andy and I both share the same position on franchising junk removal companies. But I will say there is really, really good franchises out there. They're just not junk removal companies,
That is
right?
correct.
It's because they have a franchisable business, um, and it works. You have to look into the nuts and bolts of it, right? And ask questions. Hell, if we have Surf Pro on here, and maybe you're in a franchise right now, or maybe you're thinking about joining one of the junk removal franchises, it's a great time to ask questions. Because if any of
Yep.
those questions that you ask him and he tells you the answers and you don't know those answers, then guess what? Maybe you should rethink because Andy and I, we went down a different road where we had questions
Yep.
for people that would reach out to us. Hey, man, we're thinking about signing on with blah, blah, blah. And we would ask them these questions. They're like, well, I mean, I don't know. Well, shit. Then why are you getting in a franchise? Like, why do you feel the need to spend $50,000 before you start your truck in the morning And then at the end of the year, what if I told you that you're going to be down $100,000 your first year in business? Is that something you're interested in? And they're like, well, no. Oh, okay. Well, maybe you shouldn't go the franchise route.
Yeah, speaking of, so real quick before we hop off here, a couple notes got to cover. Jobber, love Jobber. Jobber loves me. That's it. I did mention Jobber. Go get yourself some Jobber at getjobber.com. Also, for those of you that are interested, speaking of franchises, I was recently featured in a magazine article on the Franchise Times /franchise. If you want to find out more about that, you can click here and talk about why I don't like franchises and some more background about a franchise I was formerly part of and why it sucks. So that link is available here, and maybe we'll post it up online. Read at your own discretion, I guess is the best way to put it. All right, Casey, top takeaways from today.
Takeaway: stay the course, stay consistent, weather the storm, because as we go into the winter times, yes, you're going to see maybe a drop in business, but as long as you stick to your guns and keep marketing, pushing forward, and take care of your business, as in, we already know this year. I mean, you may call me crazy, but you can already write this year down. Say, hey, it's done. Like, yeah, you can pretty much guess what the next couple months are going to be like, unless you have a lucky ass job pop up and you go from, hey, averaging 30, $40,000 a month to, oh, December we did $130,000. You can't really count on that right now, at least not in my experience. What you can count on is, what are you going to do differently now and set in place now to make sure next year goes better? How are you going to improve your business? Because now you have the time, you have no excuses.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. Stay the course. Um, uh, and with that, right? Prepare for the long run, right? And it's so similar, right? Me right now, my head is not in what am I doing next week. My head is, like I said, April of 2025. That is where my mind is at. So if you are still doing this mindset of how do I get through next week, or not even think about the end of the year, start shifting your mind, because what's going to happen is tomorrow you're not going to have work. There's going to be a tomorrow when there's no work for you in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's for an hour, maybe it's for a day, maybe it's for a week. And when you don't prepare for that, you're not going to know what to do. When you prepare for that, you'll be like, okay, yep, I did all my things. I did what Casey said. I was consistent. And now that this time has become available, what am I going to use with this opportunity? What am I going to do that I didn't get done all year because I said I was too busy? What can I do now? And I know I saved the cash. I did all the right things on that end so that when it hit, I didn't have to go scramble for work. I didn't have to go scramble, like Homeboy said, to be busy. Busy is bullshit. So prepare for the future while you're being consistent. That is the advice this week on the Trash Talk Business podcast. As always, we thank our listeners live. We thank the people that download the episodes. You are available, or they are available anywhere you get your podcast. You already know that because you're listening. Also, we are live every week on the VIP page of the Trash Talk Business podcast. If you're not already a member, become a member. You can listen live. You can comment live. You can ask questions ahead of time that we will answer on the live show every Monday at 1600. I'm Andy Weins. He's Casey Bubba Lawrence. Thank you again for another amazing week here on the Trash Talk Business Podcast.